All right, now for more of what happened in court, we are now joined by our reporter Chriselda Lewis. Chriselda, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Of course, you've been in court all day, even since yesterday when that adjournment happened. Now, interesting testimony coming out there from Sargeant Mosia. Just take us a little bit through some of the key highlights. Interestingly, this morning what came out and what was glaring was that the incident was actually reported officially 4 hours later after it happened.
Well, that's right, Anati. We had expected that cross-examination would be indeed to poke holes in what the initial testimony of the forensic detective was, that is Thabo Mosia. And that's exactly what we saw this morning, in that you would recall a lot of focus was put on an affidavit that he had deposed in June 2019. This was about 4 years and a couple of months after Senzo Meyiwa had been killed. And it essentially, he said in that affidavit that due to some of the delays that had taken place in reporting the murder that had taken place, that the crime itself, the crime scene itself may have been compromised. Now, this is in stark contrast, you would recall, Unati, to what the Mosia had basically said yesterday when he was consistently asked whether he believed that the crime scene had been tampered with / compromised. He was adamant that he did not believe that would have taken place. He also then said that was his version, he was sticking to it, but asked under cross-examination this morning, earlier on this morning, by Advocate Malesela Teffo on whether he sticks to that version of events. At some point he conceded that there could have been a possibility of contamination that had taken place. Let's take a listen to what some of that cross-examination entailed.
In your answers, I can sense that there is a clear admission that, yes, the scene at 13511 Kutano Street was indeed contaminated. And that is supported by paragraph 10 of your statement, where you say the scene was compromised. And you are right, the scene was compromised. You just don't want to accept.
According to my statement, my Lord, I said the scene might have been compromised, my Lord.
And much to what you point out to Unati is that part of the burner contention also here has been that Advocate Malesela Teffo was continuing with his cross-examination, pointing out to the fact that Senzo Meyiwa was shot, of course, as we all know, at her mother's home, Kelly Khumalo's home, and the body had been removed from there and taken to a hospital. So what Malesela Teffo, Advocate Malesela Teffo, essentially is pointing to is that by mere virtue of the fact that untrained officials, in the form of those who were in the house at the time, had removed the body from there and taken it to the hospital, meant that the scene itself had been contaminated. And basically what he says, as you point out, is that he says that there's a witness that will testify that Senzo Meyiwa had died at the scene, at the primary scene, which is the house, and not at the hospital which he was taken to. And he pointed it out to saying, going as far as to saying that those that were in the house at the time had known that Senzo Meyiwa had died at the house and had basically gone to dump his body at the mortuary. Let's take a listen.
Senzo Robert Meyiwa died at the scene. 13511 Kutano Street. What you say, they took him to hospital to save his life. Actually, they were going to dump him at the hospital mortuary.
Advocate Malesela Teffo pointing to what he is referring to as, a bungling of this matter, if I can, by police, accusing Mosia of trying to cover up some of the mistakes that were made at that particular crime scene. Let's take a listen to what he said pertaining to that.
You are trying to want to cover the blunders that happened caused by the police at the primary scene that you call. You become evasive for that purpose, that you are trying to cover.
Well, Unati cross-examination will continue tomorrow, but shortly after the lunch break, much of the focus was on, you would recall, a second docket that had been opened pertaining or related to this murder, in which the 7 individuals that were in the house, including Kelly Kumalo, his sister, Longwe Twala, just some of the names that are contained in that docket, in which the investigators in that second docket believe that those are the individuals who are supposed to answer or should be facing charges relating to the killing of Senzo Meyiwa, in which Advocate Malesela Teffo says they agree with that second docket and that their clients are basically being used as scapegoats in the murder of Senzo Meyiwa.
Chriselda Lewis, thank you so much for that update. Let's leave it there for now. Thank you so much. Right, of course, Chriselda Lewis just bringing us up to speed with that Meyiwa murder trial, of course, talking about Advocate Malesela Teffo's cross-examination of the first witness, Sargeant Thabo Mosia.